Αγαπητοί φίλοι, θέλω να σας καλωσορίσω σήμερα εδώ, στο Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβούλιο, στην εκδήλωσή μας, που έχει σαν τίτλο «Καταρρίπτοντας μύθους». Στην Επιτροπή που ασχολούμαστε με το προσφυγικό, τη LIBE, λέμε πάρα πολλές φορές ότι οι πρόσφυγες δεν είναι αριθμοί. Πίσω από κάθε αριθμό υπάρχει και ένας άνθρωπος. Σήμερα θα δούμε ότι και η υπηρεσία ασύλου δεν είναι αριθμοί. Πίσω από κάθε απόφαση, πίσω από κάθε δύσκολη απόφαση, πίσω από κάθε προσπάθεια υπάρχει ένας άνθρωπος. Και αυτοί οι άνθρωποι είναι που λύνουν τα προβλήματα, που προχωράνε το σύστημα, που δίνουν στους πρόσφυγες το πολυπόθητο χαρτί, ότι είναι πρόσφυγες και μπορούν να πάρουν μετά και το διαβατήριο, ότι μπορούν να ταξιδέψουν στην Ευρώπη. Δεν θα πω πολλά, χαίρομαι πάρα πολύ που έχουμε σήμερα. We're very happy to have together with us Mrs. Mcginty from the UNHCR. Thank you very much, Mrs. Mcginty. Mr. Ambrosi from the IOM, Regional Director of IOM's Regional Office for the EU, and Mr. François Bienfait, representative of EASO. Thank you very much for being today. We have to show that all combined efforts only, together with our efforts in the Parliament to change the legislation, to have a common asylum system, could bring solutions to the problems that we faced and for sure we will face in the years to come. Now, I would also like to thank my colleagues, Birgit Sippel, our coordinator from S&D and from Germany, and Cecile Kinge, our rapporteur for the holistic approach to migration, also from Italy and S&D. Thank you very much for being here today. We also have interventions for other colleagues who cannot be here, also from LIBE. And we also prepare a video to give to each and every colleague in LIBE, because the replies we get today, and this is the spirit of this event, to put questions and get replies, to bust the myths, but to get the truth of the matter. That is from me. I would like to give the floor to my friend and chair of the LIBE committee, Claude Moraes. Claude.
Thank you very much, Miltos. I was just saying to some of our colleagues as I was coming in why I'm a little bit nervous at this meeting. Two reasons. One is because we have not really done enough, and we can never do enough in this issue. Second reason is because of you. You have kept the members of the Parliament our feet to the fire on this issue, and you have reminded us continually what remains to be done. But there is a third issue, which is when I came to the Parliament, you may know there was a Greek member, Stavros Lambridis, and one of the first visitors groups I spoke with were a group of well, say refugee children who had come from one of his visitors groups. And at the beginning of the meeting, he said to me, Claude, it's ridiculous, you don't speak Greek. You know, some of them spoke English. So I thought it was like a joke. And he said, speak Greek, it will come in useful one day. And I was just thinking today is the day when this would have been great. You know, I would have spoken Greek, everything would be great. You would like what I said, things would be fine. So Stavros, you were right, sorry. You know, you were right. And it would have come in useful because, quite frankly, as Cecile, Birgit, my distinguished colleagues from Greece, they know very well, this has been a very tough journey. I was in the Greek islands with my colleague, the chair of the Development Committee, recently. As Birgit knows, there were 2 delegations recently from the LIBE Committee. And these are very tough situations for us because we are not the Commission, we are the Parliament, and we are very critical of what is happening. But this is not a simple situation, as we will hear from the very, I think, important guests that you've invited here today, not just the distinguished organisations that we work with, but I think the actual services you invited today. So first of all, I'd like to say this is an important meeting because we have the services who are on the front line, and we want to hear from you because this is not a theoretical discussion. This is about what is happening in the camps, what is happening now that the government has the budget, and how the camps are functioning So this is very much what is happening in winter, and we need to know what the latest is. And as you said, Cecile, Birgit, all of our colleagues will transmit this to the rest of the LIBE committee. And for colleagues who don't know what the LIBE committee is, why don't you know what the LIBE committee is? It's the most troublesome large committee, as our Vice President knows, which does everything. But really what it should be doing is persuading the Commission to do the right thing. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. None of this is in my speech, which my hard-working office gave me, by the way. Sorry, I will now read my speech. Sorry, now I'll be a bit more boring. Sorry for this. So let me first... it says here, it's with great pleasure that I accepted the invitation, Miltos. It is with great pleasure. And also, last week, I was at the Justice Home Affairs Council. Let me just pause for one moment. I was at the Justice and Home Affairs Council last week. What can I say about the Justice and Home Affairs Council? I think the first thing I would say about this is, I'm sorry to say that Greece was not mentioned very often. And the Commissioner, of course, did mention Greece, but the ministers did not mention Greece. This is one thing I would say. I'm sorry, I would like to be honest here. Why is this a problem? It's a problem because the dominant issue now, I think, is very much security. And I think the consequences of what is happening in Greece are very important, of course, for us in our committee and what we're doing. But the sort of geopolitical issues are moving on. And this is a problem. So this is the first thing I would say. I would say for this meeting, we must transmit a political message, which is that the crisis in Greece is part of a global crisis, but it remains and we need to pay attention to it. And I think it's a European crisis, and that's something that we must maintain our emphasis on. So for the issues of relocation, so-called resettlement, of which the numbers are tiny, this is the emphasis we must maintain. At the Justice and Home Affairs Council last week in Sofia, I don't think there was a very good or intelligent understanding of what relocation means. The numbers are so small that it's almost embarrassing. Now, Miltos and I, we've discussed this many times, but let me tell you what the context was. I promise I won't be too long in what I'm saying. But the context was, you know, you've heard of this global compact on migration. So there's a big discussion at the UN about what developing countries are taking in terms of numbers. But most ministers are criticizing the global compact because they're saying that it's irrelevant that developing countries are taking most of the world's refugees, and Europe is in fact taking a big enough burden. But at the same time, they will not focus on what the solutions are within Europe. So at the same time, they're saying we don't want anyone in Europe, but then we won't take our responsibility in Europe for responsibility sharing. So this negative message has to continually be challenged. And at least for us, and I know I speak for Cecile, for Birgit, and for all the members of our committee, when I say that we will constantly remind certainly the member states in the European Union that they need to maintain responsibility sharing. The crisis is by no means anywhere near over, and we have to maintain this emphasis. Secondly, we are restarting this issue of our legislation. We have such a huge legislative package currently stuck. I'm sure there's a more sophisticated word for it, but stuck is the word. It's stuck in council, it's not moving. And one of the things we pushed very hard was for Dublin, this so-called responsibility sharing legislation, to move. And my understanding of this is that we in the Parliament will do everything possible to move it. We are in our progressive family pushing very hard. But the reality is that unless the Council make a determined political effort to move it, Dublin is the responsibility sharing mechanism. Unless we get over this objection that we have from some of these countries, you know, like Hungary, like the other countries who don't want to take part, then we will continually have this problem in Greece because there will not be the settlement that there needs to be sufficient numbers of relocation to give the space in Greece for a decent situation where funding will go a bit further and we will have a better situation. So we are trying very hard, along with Dublin, to get many of these parts of the asylum package adopted, but unless we get the package through, nothing will move. So we have to maintain this pressure, and we are doing our best to do it. So this is the urgent priority for us. Secondly, we have to make the idea of fair sharing a reality. Our committee has witnessed this situation on the ground, as I said, many times, but most recently when our delegations visited Greece, focusing on the implementation of the hotspots. And I'm looking forward to hearing from our colleagues on where we are on many of these issues. And LIBE members also, on many occasions, gained a lot from the frank and fruitful discussions with the Director of the Greek Asylum Service, who I'm delighted to see here again. And the Greek Asylum Service, indeed, which is a relatively new service at the time when the crisis broke out, has, under Ms. Stavropoulou, as well as Minister Masalas' leadership, had to considerably increase its capacity in a very short time in order to deal with the numbers of applications which exceeded by 3 or 4 times the original capacity. So we are very conscious of what the burden has been. You also had to set up accelerated procedures, adapt to new situations created by the EU-Turkey statement, and implement all the relocation decisions that we spoke about. So these kinds of challenges have been immense. Alongside this are the big funding issues which we as MEPs have discussed. And some of these have transferred from development through to Justice and Home Affairs gradually, so that we, in fact, within the Justice and Home Affairs field, hold many of the strings of the funding situation for Greece. This makes it even more important that my colleagues are here to talk about this situation specifically in Greece and where we can fund the solutions for you. But this cannot happen unless we do it as a team. We have to have the political will, but also the practical understanding of what we are doing. So today's meeting, I think, is very important, Miltos, because there are people here who are involved in all aspects of the Greek crisis. What I want to say in introduction today is that the members of the European Parliament, certainly from the progressive families, have not given up on this very important task. By inviting us here today, we just want to underline that we will not forget the situation of Greece, and most importantly, the Greek people, because the Greek people have responded to the crisis. This is a very important thing to understand, that whenever we've been there, we have seen the response of the Greek people to the crisis, not just in the camps, but in every other aspect of the crisis. So we are very aware of this, and we will not relent on the pressure to get a solution for the crisis. So with this, I want to say that I'm very interested now to hear from the experts on the ground of the latest situation, but please make demands on us for this renewed time. This final concluding remark. What I heard last week, I said in all honesty, because I feel we're going into a second phase. And that second phase is one where the media spotlight, unfortunately, is no longer as strongly on the Greek crisis and European crisis in Greece as it was. I say this as a non-Greek because I think we should understand this. And when this happens, there are consequences. And the consequences are that less attention will be paid to the human tragedy that is going on, less attention will be paid to what the Greek authorities have to cope with, and consequently there will be less pressure on the legislators and others to do something about it. This is a very important thing to understand. So today's meeting, in my view, ups the pressure, and I know my colleagues will take this message back to the LIBE committee and those who have the power. We have the legislative power as well. And I can tell you, and I know Birgit will agree with me, in 2018 we will fight for this asylum package. We will fight to get Dublin. And I'll just tell you one anecdote. I went to a meeting. This is so boring, it's going to bore you. The Conference of Committee Chairs. See how boring that was? I even got bored saying it. I went to a meeting of the Conference of Committee Chairs. It is as boring as it sounds. Sorry for anyone that goes to that. But and the Bulgarian presidency said, we need consensus on Dublin. Do you know what she was saying? She means we need every member state to agree so we have the Dublin system. Do you understand what that means? That means Hungary, it means the Czech Republic. No, you need a majority under the treaty. So at the end of the meeting I said, did you mean to say consensus or did you mean to say majority of member states? He said, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. I meant I'm the European Minister for, she's a nice person, by the way, I'm not being horrible, but I'm the European Minister for the presidency. I meant majority, you're quite right. Small difference, but you understand what I'm saying. We can't leave Greece on its own, and hopefully this would be the message today. And I think me and my colleagues are now really wanting to hear what you say about the situation on the ground, and we're there to help you. And Miltos, thank you for everything you've done since you've been here as an MEP as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claude, for your message. Your Greek needs a little polishing, but strangely understood everything you said. Maybe because what you said, the message you sent, is exactly what we have in our heads, independent of language, the Greek colleagues, the other European colleagues, the friends from the Asylum Service. So either Greek or English, we are on the same wavelength, and this is the most important. Θα ήθελα να καλωσορίσω φυσικά και τους Έλληνες Ευρωβουλευτές, τον Γιώργο Γραμματικάκη, τον Αντιπρόεδρο, τον Δημήτρη Παπαδημούλη, την πάντα δραστήρια Σοφία Σακοράφα, επίσης και την προηγούμενη σειρά των Ευρωβουλευτών, τη Μαριλένα Κοπά, που έχουμε τη χαρά να έχουμε μαζί μας. Ήταν σήμερα να παραστεί και ο Δημήτρης Αβραμόπουλος, ο Επίτροπος. Δεν μπόρεσε, κάτι έγινε τελευταία στιγμή, όμως μας έστειλε ένα βίντεο και θα τον ακούσουμε πριν περάσουμε στην ουσία της εκδήλωσής μας. Οι κατευθύνσεις που δίνει ο Επίτροπος είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικές και συμβαδίζουν με αυτά που μας είπε ο Claude.
Αγαπητοί μου φίλοι, μέλη του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου, κυρίες και κύριοι, η σημερινή συζήτηση είναι πολύ επίκαιρη και θα ήθελα πραγματικά να συγχαρώ τον καλό μου φίλο και εξαιρετικό Ευρωβουλευτή κύριο Κύρκο για την πρωτοβουλία του αυτή. Θα ήθελα μέσα από αυτό το μαγνητοσκοπημένο μήνυμα να μοιραστώ μαζί σας ορισμένες σκέψεις, καθώς δεν μπορώ να βρίσκομαι κοντά σας. Τα 3 τελευταία χρόνια η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση κλήθηκε να αντιμετωπίσει μία από τις μεγαλύτερες προσφυγικές κρίσεις από την εποχή του Δευτέρου Παγκοσμίου Πολέμου. Η Ελλάδα βρέθηκε στο επίκεντρο της κρίσης αυτής και έχει αναλάβει πραγματικά ένα έργο τιτάνιο. Η χώρα βρέθηκε αντιμέτωπη με πρωτόγνωρες προκλήσεις. Κατάφερε όμως να κάνει σημαντικά βήματα για την μεταρρύθμιση του εθνικού συστήματος ασύλου, θέτοντας με αυτόν τον τρόπο γερά θεμέλια τόσο για την αντιμετώπιση των άμεσων αναγκών, όσο και για την εφαρμογή μιας ολοκληρωμένης και μακροχρόνιας στρατηγικής για την διαχείριση του φαινομένου αυτού. Τίποτα από όλα αυτά δεν θα ήταν δυνατόν χωρίς τη συμβολή ορισμένων σημαντικών συντελεστών, όπως αυτή της κυρίας Μαρίας Σπυροπούλου, αλλά και ολόκληρης της ομάδας της. Θα ήθελα να σας ευχαριστήσω όλους θερμά για τη δέσμευση και τις συνεχείς σας προσπάθειες. Όλοι εσείς ανταποκριθήκατε με επιτυχία στο θεσμικό σας ρόλο και πλέον η Ελλάδα έχει ένα σύστημα ασύλου το οποίο λειτουργεί πολύ πιο αποτελεσματικά σε σχέση με πριν από 3 χρόνια. Η Ευρώπη στήριξε από την αρχή και θα συνεχίσει να στηρίζει και στο μέλλον την Ελλάδα επιχειρησιακά, οικονομικά, πολιτικά. Βασική μας επιδίωξη είναι να υπάρξει σημαντική πρόοδος στην μεταρρύθμιση του κοινού ευρωπαϊκού συστήματος ασύλου. Η επιτυχία αυτής της μεταρρύθμισης θα συμβάλλει καθοριστικά στην αποτελεσματικότητα και την περαιτέρω μεταρρύθμιση των υπηρεσιών ασύλου και στην Ελλάδα. Χρειαζόμαστε ένα κοινό ευρωπαϊκό σύστημα ασύλου δίκαιο και αποτελεσματικό, εργαλείο ικανό για την αντιμετώπιση μελλοντικών πιθανών προκλήσεων, ώστε να μην επαναληφθούν όσα συνέβησαν και ζήσαμε πριν από 2 χρόνια. Το κοινό ευρωπαϊκό σύστημα ασύλου θα πρέπει να οικοδομηθεί στη βάση των αρχών της αλληλεγγύης και του επιμερισμού των ευθυνών. Φίλες και φίλοι, εύχομαι η επίσκεψή σας, αλλά κυρίως η συζήτηση σήμερα να έχει παραγωγικά αποτελέσματα. Σας εύχομαι κάθε επιτυχία στο σημαντικό σας έργο. Σας ευχαριστώ.
Ευχαριστούμε τον Επίτροπο. Τώρα έχουμε 3 πεντάλεπτα από τη Μαρία Σταυροπούλου, τη Διευθύντρια της Ελληνικής Υπηρεσίας Ασύλου. Δεν είναι η Διευθύντρια της Ελληνικής Υπηρεσίας Ασύλου, είναι η Διευθύντρια της Ελληνικής Υπηρεσίας Ασύλου, γιατί το έργο της είναι πολύ μεγαλύτερο από απλώς να διοικεί αυτή την διεύθυνση. Η κυρία Ίζα Παπαηλιού, που θα μας μιλήσει για την υλοποίηση του κανονισμού του Δουβλίνου, και η κυρία Ζωή Νασίκα για την υλοποίηση μετεγκατάστασης από την υπηρεσία. Μαρία, τα 5 λεπτά.
Thank you very much. Να μιλήσω στα ελληνικά ή στα αγγλικά?
Ναι, στέλνω όπως θες.
Στα αγγλικά, μάλλον. I'll speak in English since the majority of our participants here today are English speaking or understand English. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Kyrkos for the invitation. I'm here today with several of my colleagues. 2/3 of the senior management team of the Asylum Service are here, and that's 22 people. They're not few. And I would like to say a little bit where we started off from, where we are today, and how we see the future. We started off really with the MSS case in 2010. You will all remember the MSS case of the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg that effectively said that Dublin returns to Greece would have to stop because of inter alia 4 things. First, no access to the asylum procedure. Second, unfair asylum procedures. Third, no information to asylum seekers. And fourth, no legal aid. So let's see where we are. We started in 2013. We're already in the 3rd slide, right? No, not so far, just before. Yeah, there we go. We started in June 2013 the operation. By the way, the operation needed to be built up from scratch. This is the asylum seeker ID. This took us 7 months to design because it has security features. It took us 7 months. Everything had to be done from the beginning. People had to be recruited. We started off with like 10 people, etc. I won't go into the details. Today, we have registered almost 140,000 asylum applications. But the important thing is the chart to the upper right corner that shows that in 2016 and 2017, over 110,000 applications were registered, so a very steep increase. And of course, all numbers go up. Asylum-seeking unaccompanied minors have gone up. 1/3 of our asylum-seeking population are women. The next slide. Now, as you can see from this chart, by the way, all of that is on our website. 3 out of the 4 top countries of origin of asylum seekers who arrive in Greece come from countries that have, quote unquote, produced refugees who come to Europe for the last several years: Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq. And naturally, the eligibility rate, this is how many people actually receive asylum, is above 45% in Greece these days. And you can see this in the figure, in the graph at the bottom. The green circles are the number of people getting asylum in Greece at the moment. So it looks like we have done a lot of progress, right? Access to the asylum procedure is pretty massive. Almost 60,000 applications in 2017. That's 5 times more than in the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken, for 2017. And the eligibility rate is pretty good, which is a testament to a relatively fair asylum procedure. But this is really not the end of the story. Now, just as we were getting on our feet, this is what happened. The so-called refugee crisis in Europe, we can debate if it was a real crisis or not. It hit us. Now, in the very beginning, during 2015, not many people applied for asylum in Greece. They left Greece and went on to Northern Europe. But then the first flag came, the relocation program. Now, the relocation program itself wasn't very attractive to asylum seekers, as we can see from the relatively low number of asylum applications for the next couple of months. What really changed was the closing of the Western Balkan route, the so-called closing of this so-called West Balkan route, but also the EU-Turkey statement that was enforced in March 2016. That was the game changer. That's when numbers of asylum applications rose extremely quickly. So quickly we couldn't take them in, so we had to organize a pre-registration exercise. So what did we do? Well, we did our best in the circumstances. Now, let me say a few things about, and by the way, just as things were stabilizing in May 2017, and everybody thought that we can start accepting back Dublin returns, and in fact, some countries started sending us Dublin returns, and Isa will say a few things about that in a minute, arrivals went up again in August 2017, and that threw us a little bit off balance. Now, since I mentioned the EU-Turkey agreement, let me say the EU-Turkey statement. Let me say a few things about how this has been implemented on the islands. Now, that's in March 2016. We basically, by the way, we had just started implementing relocation. We suddenly had to implement the EU-Turkey statement, which we did. We amended our legislation. We worked with EASO very hard to start working in the hotspots, to increase the staff there very rapidly, etc. I won't bore you with the details, but by applying basically the law, this is the situation today. We have registered 38,000 asylum applications, almost 38,000 asylum applications on the island since March 2016. Almost 35,000 applications have been processed on the islands. Of course, we have a backlog, but that's normal. 3,500 applications have been deemed admissible. This is to say that Turkey wasn't, in our view, safe for people to go back to. In 2,200 cases, the Asylum Service said that people could safely go back to Turkey. And what is a very interesting other figure is that over 23,000 people could not remain on the islands for two reasons. One, because they were deemed vulnerable and they needed more procedural guarantees. And second, because they had a claim to family reunification. They had family elsewhere in Europe or even in the mainland of Greece. Now, I'll stop here and turn to my colleague Isa Papailiou, who has the thankless task of heading the Greek Dublin unit.
Thank you, Maria. Good afternoon. Can we see the next slide, please? As my director just said before, the crisis of 2015 hit us, all the units of the service. By the end of 2015, the Greek Dublin unit received a relatively small number of cases that could be handled under the regulation, but the next 2 years we experienced a tremendous increase. Most of these cases are family reunification cases, mainly addressed. Could we see the next slide, please? Oh, over next. Oh, this one. The majority of these discharge requests are addressed to Germany, and there are family reunification cases. The relatively small unit of 8 caseworkers needed urgently to scale up. This was possible and implemented a few months later when we finally succeeded in releasing the required funds from EU and EA grants. This happened by September 2016. During the same year, after the EU-Turkey statement took effect and the closure of the northern border of Greece, The Dublin cases continue to increase from the island, and as of May 2016, our unit started to be literally hammered by return requests submitted by one member state, and this is Hungary. By the end of the year of 2016, Commission issued its 8th recommendation about the gradual resumption on Dublin returns as of 15th of March 2017. So from that date onwards, we started to receive again a high number of requests for asylum seekers to be returned to Greece. The majority of these requests this year come from Germany. Now, for the next year, for the coming year, besides the continuing increasing trend in applications and caseload that we have to assess, a new challenge is lying ahead of us. And this is the recast of Dublin IV regulation, which is under negotiation, as you mentioned before, placing at the moment, as we see that the proposal, placing even more burden to the first entry member states. While the discussion is still open, we sincerely hope that all member states will eventually contribute to a fair system of responsibility sharing. Thank you very much.
So let's pause here for a minute to see how far we have gotten. The asylum procedure in Greece is up and running. It was doing pretty well. And then various things happened, and now we're again at the edge of the cliff. We have very high numbers of family unification, in particular family unification cases, Dublin requests to other member states, and we also have high numbers of requests for returns to Greece. Now, let me give the floor to my colleague Zoe Nasika, who was in charge of the relocation exercise from the part of the Greek authorities, which is the other element of the Dublin 4, well, let's say this experiment, the Dublin 4 sharing mechanism.
Good afternoon to all. As the director already mentioned, if you can move on. The next one, please. Here we are, yeah. On September 2015, the European Relocation Programme, the first ever burden-sharing arrangement within the EU, was decided by the Council of the European Union with a duration of 2 years and the goal of relocating 1,006 asylum seekers from Greece and Italy. To date, nearly 22,000 asylum seekers, of which 9,897 children have been relocated in an organized and safe way from Greece to other European member states. In implementing the program, every effort was made to ensure that families, including extended families, move together to the same member state of relocation, that vulnerable persons were prioritized, and the security checks were thorough. The top relocated nationality from Greece were Syrians, followed by Iraqis. From the receiving end, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Sweden, Finland, Portugal, and Spain are the member states which have received the largest numbers of asylum seekers within the framework of the program. I also have to mention that 9 European states, namely Malta, Latvia, Finland, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Sweden, Norway, Switzerland, and Ireland have relocated their full allocations and fulfill their commitments of receiving asylum seekers as they derive from the Council decisions. Finland, followed by the Netherlands, have welcomed the largest numbers of unaccompanied and separated minors. Though the number of the relocated minors is low, 511 during the whole 2 years duration of the program, their actual relocation have been one of the greatest challenges of the program, mainly due to the differences between national legislative frameworks regarding the protection and reception of children in migration, in particular on issues related with guardianship and protection of separated and married children. Considering the figures presented, it is clear that the relocation program met the targets set by the Council only to an extent, and that there have been major weaknesses and challenges. To mention a few, the program was open only to a few nationalities, mainly Syrians in the Greek case. Second, the program evolved very slowly. It is indicative that during the first half of the implementation of the program, that is from November 2015 to September 2016, less than 5,000 asylum seekers were effectively relocated from Greece. On the other side, relocation showed an impressive acceleration in 2017, to a large extent owing to the fact that by then the necessary capacity, structures, know-how, networks and partnerships between all interested bodies were put in place, and the program had gained some credibility among beneficiaries, but also the public. In short, in terms of numbers and quotas, the relocation program has only partially met what was originally foreseen. Yet it was the first step towards the management of refugee flows in Europe based on the fundamental principles of solidarity and responsibility sharing, and at the same time it had an enormous impact on the lives of each one of the 22,000 asylum seekers who have been given the chance to start again under conditions of security and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zoe. So here's the ground we have covered. As I said, massive access to the asylum procedure, very high numbers, a fairly fair asylum procedure due to dedicated and well-trained staff trained by the European Asylum Support Office curriculum. Now, there are two more aspects, and I'll very briefly mention them from the MSS judgment. One is information to asylum seekers, big gap for years in Greece. What do we have today? Well, we have information leaflets that have been distributed and printed care of EASO, by the way. That's one. The other is, this is what we are very proud of, and we will be presenting still today. This is our first information booklet for unaccompanied minors, but we'll come this to the end, at the end to this. We have a mobile application, an application for mobile phones. We're one of only 4 member state administrations with such a mobile app. We have, of course, a website with a lot of information in 18 languages. We have a Facebook account, a Twitter account. And as regards legal aid, which was the other, but I think hopefully the last gap in the MSS judgment as far as the asylum procedure was concerned, the free legal assistance program started in Greece for the second instance. So what is our national obligation in September 2017? And this is, you can see, the breakdown per geographical region. And by the way, when we started, we had 5 offices, and today we have 22, and the 23rd is opening in the next few weeks. So that all looks very, yes, stressful but rosy. But the real problem comes here. This is the real problem. What does that tell us? The big circles show the number of asylum applications in 2017 by the month of September. So as you can see, Germany has the biggest circle, Italy, France, then comes Greece. But the worrying thing is the percentage in those circles. That is the worrying thing. Because Germany experiences a 75% drop in the number of asylum applications. Italy experiences an increase. France experiences an increase. But Greece experiences the highest increase of all. And given its size and the state of its economy and the number of its people, no matter how well we do our job, no matter how much we expand, no matter how EASO helps us, we will never be able, like that, if that continues, to respond to the real needs. Of course, we are receiving massive financial support, and we can see how well we are absorbing the funds. Now, this is, again, funds allocated to the Asylum Service. We have absorbed 28 million euro. That's an 84.78, basically 25% absorption rate. In 2018, we are absorbing yet more funds thanks to the funding being made available by the Commission under emergency, under the national program, the EA grants, etc. We even receive assistance in kind from UNHCR-IOM, even an NGO for one case, from our illustrator, Christina Tsevi, who worked on this pro bono on the information leaflet. But pouring funding, yes, it's much better than not any funding, but it is not equivalent to proper responsibility sharing. And I will end by saying what my personal opinion is on where things are going, will have to go in the future. Of course, they have to go in the direction of better responsibility sharing. That, for me, is it's a non-starter to say that this won't be done, because at the end of the day, the Dublin will again be affected. If Dublin goes down, Schengen goes down. We have experienced this. And we are heading again in the same direction. This is what I find very, very frustrating. But the other aspect, in my view, is this. Now, this is the joint EASO Asylum Service team on the island of Chios in the summer 2017. Gradually, we, in my view, have to move to a single European asylum system. This is joint teams. That group hasn't just achieved increased processing of asylum applications. It has increased dramatically a common approach to who gets asylum and who does not in the European Union. So these are a couple of thoughts that we would like to leave you with. And to conclude, I think we have come a very, very long way. Thanks to our partners, UNHCR, IOM, EASO, of course, the European Commission, the NGOs. But above all, thanks to my dedicated, wonderful colleagues, 2/3 of whom are here today. And I hope you will join them in celebrating their achievements, because it's them who have achieved all of this. And I thank them really, really from the bottom of my heart. This is, for us, is also a celebration today. And we thank, of course, the European Parliament for trying to instill not so much, ethics here. It's not about a question of ethics. It's instilling a sense of common sense. Let's begin from common sense and practicalities. And so we hope that you manage to continue your efforts to achieve a fairer responsibility sharing system and a fairer European asylum system. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, I have to keep one sentence. We will never be able to respond without responsibility sharing. This is the truth. This is the problem we face. This is what we have to fight. Now we move to the next phase, which is the questions from our colleagues present or some from video, because this is the important. The questions that all parliamentarians share and what replies we will get from the experts. And I have to add that Mrs. Maria Stavropoulou ends her mandate tomorrow. It's true. Saturday, yes. And so this is also what she said about the people that she worked with is also a farewell. So may I ask Mr. Vice President of the Parliament, Dimitris Papadimoulis, to take the floor for...
Thank you, Miltos. I will speak in my native language, in Greek, so please use your headphones. Θα ήθελα πρώτα απ' όλα να ευχαριστήσω τον συνάδελφο τον Μίλτο τον Κύρκο, γιατί πιστεύω ότι αυτή η πρωτοβουλία είναι σημαντική και πολύ θετική. Θα ήθελα να προσυπογράψω όσα είπε ο Claude Moraes για την ανάγκη πρώτον να συνεχίσουμε ως Ευρωκοινοβούλιο να πιέζουμε για να υλοποιηθούν αυτά που έχουμε εγκρίνει επανειλημμένα με ψηφίσματά μας και για την υπογράμμισή του ότι τώρα που η Ελλάδα φεύγει από τα πρωτοσέλιδα, εμείς δεν πρέπει να την ξεχάσουμε. Θα ήθελα να πω ότι όσα μας παρουσίασαν η κυρία Σταυροπούλου και οι συνεργάτηδές της δείχνουν ότι γίνεται μια σπουδαία δουλειά και έχουν βελτιωθεί πολύ τα πράγματα. Φυσικά υπάρχουν προβλήματα, φυσικά υπάρχουν ελλείψεις, φυσικά υπάρχουν δυσκολίες, φυσικά υπάρχουν και λάθη. Γιατί μέσα σε λίγο χρονικό διάστημα έπρεπε να δημιουργηθεί κάτι περίπου από το μηδέν, με τεράστια πίεση προσφυγικών ροών, πολλαπλάσια μιας που θα μπορούσε να διαχειριστεί ένα ήδη οργανωμένο κράτος με ισχυρή διοίκηση που να μην έχει κρίση, όπως η Ολλανδία ή η Γερμανία. Και βλέπουμε ορισμένους να αρχίζουν τώρα ένα blame game εναντίον της Ελλάδας και της ελληνικής διοίκησης για να κρύψουν τα δικά τους ελλείμματα. Εμένα ένας αριθμός με εντυπωσίασε. Ο τελευταίος αριθμός που μας παρουσίασε η κυρία Σταυροπούλου. Μείον 75% αιτήσεις ασύλου στη Γερμανία, συν 46% αιτήσεις ασύλου στην Ελλάδα το 2017. Και θα ήθελα να ρωτήσω την κυρία Σταυροπούλου και όλη την ομάδα τι πιστεύετε ότι μπορούμε να κάνουμε παραπάνω σε Ευρωκοινοβούλιο σε συνέχεια της πρωτοβουλίας του Μιλτιάδου Κύρκου, και θα ήθελα να ρωτήσω, δυστυχώς η συνάδελφος Σίπελ δεν είναι αυτή τη στιγμή εδώ, ελπίζω να γυρίσει. Ξέρω ότι μέσα στην γερμανική διαπραγμάτευση μεταξύ των υποψήφιων κυβερνητικών εταίρων το θέμα του προσφυγικού είναι στα καυτά. Θα ήθελα να μας πούν οι Γερμανοί συνάδελφοι, είτε σήμερα είτε αύριο, από τις προοδευτικές πολιτικές οικογένειες, τι σκοπεύουν να κάνουν για να μην υιοθετηθεί η ατζέντα του AfD στη Γερμανία ως επίσημη κυβερνητική πολιτική. Γιατί η Ευρώπη αυτή του à la carte δεν μπορεί να πάει μακριά. Και αν θέλουμε δίκαια πολιτική για το άσυλο, πρέπει να εγκριθεί από το Συμβούλιο με την απαιτούμενη, σύμφωνα με τους κανονισμούς, πλειοψηφία. Όσοι ζητούν ομοφωνία απλώς υποκρίνονται. Γιατί έτσι το μόνο που μπορεί να γίνει είναι να περάσει η γραμμή του Όρμπαν.
Thank you very much, Dimitri. Cecil Kinge from Italy, our rapporteur, as I told you, of a holistic approach to the migration.
Thank you, Kyrkos. Can I speak in French? It's a problem. They say that they can translate. Yeah, it's okay. OK, thank you. Merci beaucoup et je te remercie pour cette conférence qui nous permet de faire le point sur la Grèce. Et je remercie aussi Claude pour les mots très forts qu'il a prononcés, mais surtout pour le fait qu'il a bien dit. De cette conférence, on doit sortir avec une proposition politique, c'est-à-dire aller au-delà de la simple gestion, mais avec une proposition politique. C'est vrai, ici au Parlement, on a affronté le thème de l'approche holistique sur immigration et asile, et nous sommes en train de travailler sur ça, et c'est la base même de la stratégie du Parlement qui a en quelque sorte sollicité à la Commission et sur lequel nous sommes en train de travailler. Malheureusement, on doit dire que le problème aujourd'hui et le plus grand problème que nous sommes en train de passer, c'est le fait qu'on a une crise de solidarité entre les différents États membres. Et ça, c'est un problème sur lequel on doit beaucoup travailler. Et je crois que la Grèce aujourd'hui, comme l'Italie, puisque moi je proviens de l'Italie, ont besoin d'une politique au niveau de l'Union européenne qui soit basée sur le partage équitable de la solidarité, qui doit être sur base de responsabilité, partage équitable de responsabilité, mais aussi sur la solidarité. Je crois que sans ça, ça devient un peu difficile qu'on puisse commencer à travailler sur une politique commune. Donc, de notre part, avec la résolution qu'on avait votée en 2016, on travaillera et on poussera la Commission, puisque le Parlement est assez convaincu, et pour aller au-delà et dépasser les différents égoïsmes au niveau des États membres. Et je crois que sur ça, on pourra quand même donner un coup de main. Les points sur lesquels on doit beaucoup insister sur recherche et sauvetage, les voies légales, la réforme de Dublin dont on a justement parlé, la relocation qui a été une expérience pas facile, mais quand même nous sommes arrivés à une solution grâce au Parlement. Et on a travaillé avec toi, Kyrkos aussi, beaucoup pour essayer d'aller au-delà des égoïsmes de beaucoup d'États membres. Donc je crois qu'ensemble on doit rester sur le cap, essayer de pousser de notre part pour que, ensemble, la Grèce puisse jouir aussi de la solidarité de tous les États membres. Donc, merci pour cette opportunité et je crois qu'on doit organiser beaucoup de conférences de ce genre pour sensibiliser, pas le Parlement, puisque nous sommes déjà convaincus, mais sensibiliser et faire connaître le travail que nous sommes en train de faire ici au Parlement. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Cecil, we all know the very difficult situation Italy is in. As you said, it's a total solution, not country by country. Να χαιρετήσω και τον Μανώλη Κεφαλογιάννη που είναι μαζί μας σήμερα. Βεατρίκ, θα μπορούσαμε να δούμε τη Sylvie Guillaume.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Sylvie Guillaume, je suis vice-présidente française du Parlement européen et je suis membre de la commission LIBE depuis 2009. J'ai été rapporteure sur la réforme de la directive procédure d'asile et je suis également rapporteure sur la liste européenne de pays d'origine sûre. Je ne peux pas être parmi vous aujourd'hui, je le regrette vivement. Aussi, j'aurais aimé vous poser une question. Votre système d'asile a été considérablement modifié et amélioré ces dernières années. De quoi auriez-vous besoin maintenant de la part des institutions européennes?
Η Αντιπρόεδρος του Κοινοβουλίου, η Sylvie Guillaume, και μέλος της Επιτροπής μας. Κύριε Γραμματικάκη, μήπως έχετε...
Εγώ είμαι πιο τυχερός από τον σπουδαίο κύριο Moraes, γιατί μιλάω από γεννησιμιού ελληνικά. I'm more happy than you because I speak Greek. So I tried to learn well English, but that proved of no any use to me because Brexit, you see. Now, ομολογώ ότι έχω δύο ειδώνες θύματα, κύριε Πρόεδρε. Το ένα είναι φόβο και κατάθλιψη από αυτά που άκουσα για το μέλλον και το δεύτερο είναι θαυμασμός για την υπηρεσία ασύλου, την οποία όταν μου είπατε ότι ετοιμάζεστε να καλέσετε και βέβαια εκδήλωσα τον ενθουσιασμό μου, νόμιζα ότι θα είναι περίπου 30 πρόσωπα. Εδώ οι κυρίες της Επιτροπής Ασύλου εμφανίζονται μόνο 3, ευτυχώς και οι 3 γυναίκες. Φαντάζομαι λοιπόν ότι ο όγκος της δουλειάς, η δυσκολία αλλά και η αφοσίωση πρέπει να ξεπερνούν τα ανθρώπινα μέτρα για να αντιμετωπίσουν αυτά τα νούμερα που μας ανέφεραν εδώ όλοι οι ομιλητές. Έχω όμως μια αμηχανία. Νομίζω ότι είναι τόσο δυσκίνητη η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση και τόσο γραφειοκρατικές οι δομές της που τα γεγονότα διαρκώς μας προλαβαίνουν. Όπως είπατε και πολύ σωστά στην ομιλία σας. Δεν ξέρω λοιπόν τι ακριβώς πρέπει να γίνει. Είναι αυτονόητα όλα όσα ακούστηκαν από τους συναδέλφους, οι πιέσεις στο Κοινοβούλιο, οι επισκέψεις. Έχω ακόμα ένα μικρό παράγοντα ανησυχίας, ότι ο ελληνικός πολιτικός κόσμος δεν εμφανίζεται, όπως και σε άλλα δυστυχώς θέματα, ενωμένος σε αυτό το μέγιστο θέμα. Οι μεν της αντιπολίτευσης έχουν πολύ εύκολη την κατηγορία, οι δε της συμπολίτευσης πολύ εύκολη την κάθε δικαιολογία. Εγώ πιστεύω ότι έγιναν σπουδαία βήματα στην αντιμετώπιση του προσφυγικού. Εάν προσθέσει κανένας και την οικονομική κρίση, σχεδόν αυτά που έγιναν ήταν αξιοθαύμαστα και κυρίως, όπως είπα και πριν, οφείλονται σε ανθρώπους. Νομίζω λοιπόν ότι θα πρέπει να εξασκηθεί και προς τον ελληνικό πολιτικό κόσμο μία πίεση, έχουμε όλη τη δυνατότητα να το κάνουμε, να μην είναι τόσο εύκολο στην κριτική του. Τα προβλήματα είναι πολύ μεγάλα. Η Ελλάδα βρέθηκε στο στόχαστρο μιας δυστυχίας απεριόριστης και επαναλαμβάνω, ο φόβος μου είναι για το μέλλον. Το μόνο που μπορεί επομένως να απαλύνει αυτό το μέλλον, γίνομαι πληκτικός, να το επαναλάβω, είναι αφοσίωση των ανθρώπων, των μονάδων των ανθρώπων, πολλοί από τους οποίους βρίσκονται εδώ σήμερα, και Έλληνες και ξένοι, και η δική μας η δυνατότητα να πιέσουμε όσο μπορούμε. Εκεί είμαι στη διάθεση της Επιτροπής και της Επιτροπής Ασύλου και κυρίως των 3 κυριών που μας έκαναν την τιμή να μιλήσουν σήμερα εδώ. Ευχαριστώ. Στη δική πολύ, σας Γιώργο. Είμαι υποχρεωτικά τη διάθεση, δεν μπορώ να ξεφύγω.
Αυτό είναι αλήθεια, δεν έχουμε σκοπό να σε αφήσουμε να ξεφύγεις από πουθενά. Σοφία, θέλεις κάτι να προσθέσεις? είναι ερωτήσεις. Και να κάνω κι εγώ μία ερώτηση πολύ γρήγορη. Ο χρόνος στον οποίο η Κομισιό λέει ότι πρέπει να επιταχύνει στην απόδοση, την απάντηση για το αίτημα ασύλου, είναι όντως μικρός, τον τραβάμε εμείς, είναι μικρότερος από άλλα κράτη, μεγαλύτερος? Συγγνώμη, Σοφία μου, έχεις το λόγο.
Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Σας ευχαριστώ γιατί με κάλεσε στη σημερινή εκδήλωση που θεωρώ πραγματικά πολύ σημαντική. Κυρίες ήταν εξαιρετικές και οι τρεις στην ενημέρωσή τους και τις ευχαριστώ πολύ γι' αυτό. Θέλω να πω ότι συμφωνώ απόλυτα με την αρχή της τοποθέτησης του Επιτρόπου, ο οποίος είπε ότι η χώρα μας σήκωσε ένα πάρα πολύ μεγάλο βάρος και έκανε ένα τιτάνιο έργο όσον αφορά το συγκεκριμένο τεράστιο ζήτημα. Εγώ θα έλεγα ότι η Επιτροπή Ασύλου δίνει σε πολύ μεγάλο δρόμο μέχρι τώρα, μέσα σε αυτή την εποχή της κρίσης, σηκώνοντας και αυτή ένα τεράστιο βάρος και αναδεικνύοντας πάρα πολύ μεγάλα προβλήματα και κυρίως, και ήταν και άδικο το βάρος που σήκωσε, και κυρίως τα προβλήματα που προέκυψαν από την λειτουργία του κανονισμού του Δουβλίνου. Εκτός των άλλων, αυτό που ανέδειξε και είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό επίσης είναι την μία αλληλεγγύη μεταξύ των κρατών της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης και αυτό θα πρέπει να το δούμε κάποια στιγμή. Παρ' όλα αυτά τα κατάφερε πάρα πολύ καλά σε όλη αυτή τη διαδικασία. Επίσης θέλω να πω ότι στα νησιά σήμερα η κατάσταση που υπάρχει είναι πάρα πολύ δύσκολη. Καλούνται να σηκώσουν και αυτά ένα βάρος που δεν μπορούν να το σηκώσουν. Φαίνεται, είναι τρομερό. Έχουμε 12.500 που έχουν αιτηθεί άσυλο στα νησιά, τη στιγμή που τα hot spot αυτή τη στιγμή μπορούν να σηκώσουν μόνο 7.000. Είναι τεράστιο το νούμερο. Έχω σημειώσει ότι μέσα στο Γενάρη είχαμε στο Βόρειο Αιγαίο 1.268 πρόσφυγες και μετανάστες που κατέφτασαν. Αυτό δείχνει ότι οι ροές θα είναι πάρα πολύ μεγάλες, δεν θα είναι μικρές και δεν θα μπορέσουμε να το σηκώσουμε. Νομίζω ότι το ευρωπαϊκό πρόγραμμα μετεγκατάστασης που έχει λήξει και αυτό θα δημιουργήσει τεράστια προβλήματα και φαίνεται. Τώρα, ο γεωγραφικός περιορισμός στα νησιά του Ανατολικού Αιγαίου είναι αυτός που έχει δημιουργήσει επίσης το τεράστιο πρόβλημα. Έχει δημιουργήσει πρόβλημα στους ίδιους μετανάστες που δεν μπορούν να φύγουν από τα νησιά. Έχει δημιουργήσει τεράστιο πρόβλημα στις τοπικές κοινωνίες. Και η ερώτησή μου είναι και αναρωτιέμαι αν μπορεί μέσα από την διαδικασία βελτίωσης των συνθηκών ζωής των προσφύγων, μήπως καταφέρουμε να αλλάξουμε τη συμφωνία που έχει γίνει πάνω σε αυτό το τομέα. Ευχαριστώ. Είμαι βέβαια στη διάθεσή σας, εννοείται, αν σας είμαι χρήσιμη και όπου.
Μανώλη, θες μια παρέμβαση?
Ευχαριστώ και εγώ για την πρόσκληση. Νομίζω ότι είναι ένα εξαιρετικό θέμα και αξίζουν πραγματικά συγχαρητήρια σε εσένα, Μιλτιάδη, και στους διοργανωτές. Αλλά από ό,τι καταλαβαίνω, έχει τόσο πολύ ενδιαφέρον η κατάμεστη αίθουσα. Δύσκολα βρήκαμε θέση να καθίσουμε. Που σημαίνει ότι αυτό το θέμα είναι πολύ ζεστό για την Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση και για την Ελλάδα. Εγώ δυστυχώς, παρότι είμαι ακρεφνής ευρωπαϊστής και μάλιστα προς ομοσπονδιακή κατεύθυνση, θέλω να μιλήσω λίγο ερετικά. Η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση φαίνεται το τελευταίο διάστημα ότι δοκιμάζει τα όρια της σε δύο μεγάλα θέματα, το ένα συζητούμε σήμερα. Το ένα είναι η μεγάλη αποτυχία στην οικονομία, μια κρίση η οποία ξεκίνησε αλλού και ήρθε στην Ευρώπη και δεν είχαμε τα εργαλεία να την αντιμετωπίσουμε, άρα τη ζήσαμε στο πετσί μας, ιδιαίτερα χώρες του Ευρωπαϊκού Νότου, αλλά δεν θα επεκταθώ σε αυτό. Και η δεύτερη μεγάλη αποτυχία είναι το μεταναστευτικό. Και πραγματικά ως Ευρωπαίος ντρέπομαι, γιατί η μεγάλη Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση, που όλοι τη θεωρούν ως το χώρο που θα προσεγγίσουν για να βρουν γαλήνη στα μεγάλα προβλήματα που αντιμετωπίζουν προσωπικά και εθνικά, δεν ήταν ικανή να διαχειριστεί 1 εκατομμύριο πρόσφυγες. Όταν έχουμε χώρες μικρές όπως την Ιορδανία και το Λίβανο, η Ιορδανία μπόρεσε να υποδεχτεί 1,8 εκατομμύρια πρόσφυγες. Ο Λίβανος 1,2% παραπάνω από το 25 με 30% του πληθυσμού του. Η Τουρκία, που ασκούμε πολύ μεγάλη κριτική, ο κ. Κύρκος και εγώ είμαστε και στο Προεδρείο της Μεικτής Διακοινοβουλευτικής Επιτροπής Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης Τουρκίας, και όλοι οι συνάδελφοι ξέρουμε ότι τουλάχιστον σε λίγα πράγματα είμαστε τόσο πολλοί και ομοφωνούμε, όπως στην κριτική μας, ας πούμε, για το τι γίνεται στην Τουρκία σήμερα με τα ανθρώπινα δικαιώματα, το κράτος δικαίου κτλ. Αλλά και αυτή η Τουρκία, που έχει υποστεί τόσο μεγάλη κριτική, μπόρεσε και διαχειρίστηκε ενδεχομένως με καλύτερο τρόπο από ότι εμείς, αν εξαιρέσουμε μερικές προηγούμενες χώρες όπως η Γερμανία, τους πρόσφυγες. Άρα αυτό δείχνει ότι είμαστε ένας οργανισμός ο οποίος ξεκίνησε πολύ φιλόδοξα, μας εξασφάλισε 70 χρόνια ειρήνης και ευημερίας, αλλά κινδυνεύουμε να πάθουμε αυτό που έπαθε ο δεινόσαυρος. Δεν εξυγχρονίστηκε και εξαφανίστηκε. Αν λοιπόν δεν μας τυπήσουν αυτές οι καμπάνες για τα δύο αυτά μεγάλα θέματα, και ιδιαίτερα το μεταναστευτικό που έχει πολύ μεγάλες ευαισθησίες στην κοινωνία μας, αλλά τις έχουμε τις μισές ώρες της ημέρας και όχι όλες, και δεν αναπτύξουμε πολιτικές βάζοντας το χέρι στην τσέπη, γιατί σε αυτή την Ευρώπη πρέπει να κάνουμε δύο πράγματα. Κάποιοι σαν και εμάς από τον Νότο να πάρουμε το παρατεταμένο χέρι να το βάλουμε στην τσέπη, και κάποιοι άλλοι που το έχουν στην τσέπη να το βγάλουν και να δώσουν. Και αυτές είναι οι χώρες που έχουν περισσότερα χρήματα, περισσότερα έσοδα, και μια πολιτική είναι αυτή. Είναι και μια ευκαιρία, διότι αν δεν μπορούμε να κάνουμε την κρίση ευκαιρία, εδώ θα είμαστε ένας οργανισμός που θα ζει σε μια φούσκα. Αυτοί που ζούμε μέσα στο Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβούλιο θα είμαστε όλοι ευχαριστημένοι και θα έχουμε την πλάτη μας γυρισμένη στην κοινωνία και θα έχουμε τα αποτελέσματα του λαϊκισμού και του εξτρεμισμού. Και δείτε όλες τις χώρες. Όλες τις χώρες, και του Νότου και του Βορρά. Και δείτε και τα αποτελέσματα των εκλογών. Αυτά προέρχονται κάθε φορά. Και μας τυπάει το καμπανάκι και είναι τα μηνύματα του Μεσοπολέμου. Και ας πάρουμε ως αφορμή αυτό το μεγάλο θέμα που συζητάμε σήμερα, το μεταναστευτικό, να το κάνουμε μια μεγάλη επιτυχία της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, όπως την έκαναν αυτοί που οραματίστηκαν την Ευρώπη. Ίσως με την κοινή αγροτική πολιτική, ίσως με τις περιφερειακές πολιτικές, ίσως με κάτι άλλο. Και να μπούμε μπροστά. Εμείς το ζήσαμε, κλείνω. Εμείς το ζήσαμε στην Ελλάδα, δεν φταίει η Ελλάδα για όλα. Έχουμε και εμείς τις διοληψίες μας, έχουμε και τα προβλήματά μας. Έπρεπε και εμείς να ξέρουμε να κάνουμε το διαχωρισμό μεταξύ μετανάστη και πρόσφυγα. Άλλες είναι υποχρεώσεις στον πρόσφυγα με τις διεθνείς συνθήκες, άλλες στον μετανάστη. Μας έφαγε και εμάς ένα εξάμηνο στην Ελλάδα, ένα χρόνο να το δούμε αυτό. Η αλληλεγγύη που είναι το κράτος, αυτές οι αρχές και οι αξίες της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Δεν μπορεί όλοι να μου λένε δεν παίρνω κανένα μετανάστη, δηλαδή όλο το βάρος η Ιταλία και η Ελλάδα. Μόνο η Πορτογαλία είπε ότι εγώ δέχομαι να πάρω. Και άλλες χώρες βέβαια πήραν μετανάστες. Και η Αυστρία πήρε, και η Σουηδία πήρε, και η Γερμανία πήρε. Αλλά εδώ πρέπει να είμαστε. Και είναι μια ευκαιρία. Εγώ το βλέπω μια ευκαιρία. Και χαίρομαι πάρα πολύ για αυτή την πρωτοβουλία και με πολύ έτσι ενδιαφέρον συμμετέχω και σε αυτή την εκδήλωση. Και ας μην είναι η μοναδική προσπάθεια που γίνεται από το Μητιάδη τον Κύρκο και ας αναλάβουμε και πρωτοβουλίες και διακομματικά προς αυτή την κατεύθυνση. Ευχαριστώ.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ, Μανώλη. Mrs. McGuinness.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you very much, Chairman. May I start by thanking you for inviting us here today. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's a particular pleasure to be here on this special occasion for the Greek Asylum Service and all of the colleagues who are here from the Greek Asylum Service. On behalf of UNHCR, we also want to recognise and commend the service on the fantastic work that they have done in such a short period of time, to thank them for the extraordinary cooperation and collaboration with UNHCR on the ground in Greece, and to commend them on everything that they have achieved. And I think that they've given us a good sense today of all that's been achieved in a very short time frame. So our congratulations and thanks to all the colleagues here today. I think there was one element that Maria picked up in her presentation, which is that no matter how well the job is done in Greece by the Greek Asylum Service, that absent a proper solidarity sharing system within the EU, there will continue to be difficulties. And I wanted to reflect a little bit on the solidarity piece, if I may, in just a few moments. Last week, I was also at the Justice and Home Affairs Council meeting, accompanying our Assistant High Commissioner, Volker Turk, who addressed the ministers at an informal lunch on the Global Compact on Migration and the Global Compact on Refugees. And he had one key message to share at that lunch, which was that these global deals on how to address refugee issues are of key importance within the European Union. All of the leaders of nations agreed in New York in September 2016 that they would face the issues of refugee and migration in solidarity, that they would share responsibility and that they would work together. And our message is that that commitment applies within the EU. Our High Commissioner has also recently spoken to say that he considers, and we consider, that solidarity mechanisms within the European Union should be of a binding nature. There should be reliable commitments that countries like Greece and Italy can rely on when it comes to arrangements with other member states. So we very much encourage member states to continue to consider the proposals that the European Commission tabled, which do involve an element of relocation of asylum seekers when countries are under stress, so that countries such as Greece, such as Italy and others can rely on a certain solidarity from member states. We have another issue when it comes to solidarity, and that is that the overall plan that the Commission has put on the table for all EU member states is that all states should operate mandatory admissibility procedures every time an asylum seeker comes to their country. So in essence, what's being proposed for the new common European asylum system is the EU-Turkey deal as is implemented in Greece, but that would need to be implied for all EU member states, and that all EU member states would need to look every time to see if an asylum seeker is admissible in that EU country or if they could be sent to a safe third country. We agree with the Parliament in its assessment that that's not the right approach. States should continue to receive asylum seekers who come to the EU, should apply accelerated and quality procedures, and should have a solidarity arrangement amongst themselves to manage things properly. So we will continue to work with partners, with member states, to see if some agreement on solidarity can be reached, so that the very good work that's been done in Greece can have a chance of continuing if these numbers continue to rise in terms of asylum seekers coming in. We'd like to see, just finally, focusing on Greece, two areas where solidarity could already be extended. There are some member states who are keen to continue the relocation system on a voluntary basis. We think that should happen. The Commission is willing to fund that relocation, and we would encourage all member states and the Parliament to really get behind that initiative. Relocation numbers were small, but they were significant nonetheless. It was the first time EU member states agreed to do this, and we need to build on that small success of the over 20,000 cases. And finally, because the reception conditions on the islands in Greece are so challenging, we still have hundreds of people at the moment living in summer tents in Moria, which should not be happening in an EU country in 2018. There have been some improvements, but it's still unacceptable that this is the situation. Because that's the situation, we're encouraging the authorities, member states and the Commission to allow further transfers from the islands to the mainland, because even though that's politically difficult for some member states because of the integrity of the EU-Turkey deal, we think the conditions are such that people should not be confined to those islands if they can be transferred to the mainland, and find a solution there. Thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you very much, Mrs. McGuinness. I would like to say that whoever was in the islands on that very, very difficult summer, but even after that, knows that Minister Masalas is right. In the beginning, it's chaos and NGOs and UNHCR. After some time, the state appears and tries to fix things. And hopefully, after a certain period of time, your presence will not be that crucial. But without you, it would have been a disaster. We wouldn't have been able to resist the problem. So we are grateful for your presence and looking forward to work together, because the problem will not go away. There was also another partner for whom we had always complaints: not enough people of EASO. Mr. Francois Bienfait, please tell us your opinion.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm very happy to be here and to be invited by Maria Stavropoulou and the Greek Asylum Service and all the colleagues. And I can say I feel almost being part of the team, because I've been associated personally in different steps of the operations in Greece. And I can already start with my conclusion, which is the words used by Maria Stavropoulou when she was saying that she has a hope that the model which has been established now in Greece, with the good collaboration between member state experts under a European umbrella, which happens to be EASO, is something very good and very promising for the future. And I can maybe just mention some steps. You've heard about them today already, but maybe it's important to realize how we've really improved the collaboration between us. It started just, if I can say, in 2011 with capacity building of the Greek Asylum Service, when the service was just born, a baby. And at that moment, Maria Stavropoulou and the service started to have a lot of training that we have provided from the EASO training curriculum. That was the first step. And then came, and we talked about it today, the relocation. And I will not tell you in what way EASO was involved in it. I will just tell you an anecdote about the relocation program, and I fully agree with Sophie Margonis that even if it's only 20,000 persons, those 20,000 persons have their life completely changed for the better. And I remember the first flight of relocation, Maria, of course, was there. It was a flight for people that we had identified in Lesbos at that time, and they were relocated in Luxembourg. And I remember those families, and I remember especially one family of Syrian people with a little girl and a little boy, and to see them there so happy with their faces smiling, climbing in this plane. And then I was very lucky that a few days later, for a different conference, I was in Luxembourg myself, and I went to see them in the reception center there. And to imagine that those children, the following week, were going to be at school, for me, that was amazing. And only for that, I really believe that this relocation program sincerely has shown the way to follow. Then another step was, and it was mentioned, and there was a lot of discussion about this EU-Turkey statement and the admissibility program. At the same time, that was an opportunity for us at EU and with the member state experts deployed by EASO to really start a new system to work together. And okay, I will pass the details. It's not always been easy, but I think we've succeeded together to have this very good collaboration, which has helped to be much more efficient globally. And so we start with the admissibility. I can maybe add, and that was the problem that we had very often, a lack of member state experts that we could deploy in this program, and then started an additional program, which in my opinion is probably not a bad thing either, that was to be allowed to recruit locally experts, so from the labor market in Greece, essentially Greek people, but not only, to be an additional support to those teams and those case workers in the hotspots. And I think it's good as well to involve the local population in the operations there. And after that, and I passed really all other aspects where EASO could provide some support, like assessment on vulnerabilities, on country of origin information, help desk, on support to the Dublin unit of ESA, and as well on office space, equipment, etc. I pass to the next step. I've very soon finished, another 2 minutes if I'm allowed. We then pass after admissibility to something which is a bit really revolutionary, which was the eligibility phase, meaning that the teams deployed by EASO would not only deal with this issue of Turkey, if it's safe or not, but very concretely with the real work of a case worker everywhere in Europe is to know if someone, and determine if someone needs international protection or not. And we've started to do that job thanks to Greece, because there was as well, I must say, an effort, and even it was quite a challenge, I guess, even for the Greek authorities to ask external people, meaning EU colleagues, to help them to work on this. And so now there is even a next step, which is in the pipeline, and the next step is that EASO would be involved in the regular procedure, regular asylum procedure in Greece. And again, that really shows that there, what happened in Greece, not only it was important to solve the situation of many people there with their asylum applications, but I think it's very important at EU level as well, because it shows really the way, I believe, for Europe to build a very solid and with a lot of solidarity at the same time system for the future. I could tell you right now that we have more than 235 experts deployed, including the interpreters, etc. I will not enter into detail. I'm just saying that it's been for EASO a very exciting, if I can say, not always easy, but very exciting experience to be associated with you all the way, and really believe that the way is not over, and that we will continue in this direction. Thank you very much, and to all the Greek colleagues here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bienfen. I have to tell you now that all the pressure, all these years, it was not because we wanted to pass the blame. Oh, EASO is not there. It was out of despair. What Mrs. Mcginty very politely said, the challenging conditions, for us, they were not challenging. It was a despair that we felt. So that's why we pushed, and we parliamentarians here try to change the legislation and find resources for you and the Asylum Service and all the agents on the ground. So thank you very much. There is another partner who has all the difficult numbers, all the scary numbers, all the future that is coming, and we are turning the other side, doing that like we don't understand what's coming. Mr. Ambrosi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and hope we do understand a little bit of what might be coming. Just a few comments from my side, because a lot of things have been said, and of course we shared most of the comments and the reflection that have been made. When I took over my post 3 years ago as a director of IOM here in Brussels, basically every day I was invited to a meeting by some EU institution, commission or parliament or a group of member states. And each and every one of these meetings was about Greece. And in each of these meetings, there was a considerable amount of criticism about everything that was not done, that was not happening, that was not done enough, that was not done properly enough, and the numbers and the delay and everything else. And the lack of control at the external border, everything that we know and we heard. So I think it's particularly important, and also timing, that we have this moment here today to actually recognize the enormous level of success that the work that has been done in Greece, primarily by the authority, by the Greek Asylum Service and by the partners that have associated themselves with it over the last 3 years, where the whole situation has been turned around considerably, and where a series of model action, I think, have been put in place. I think it's sad in a way that when there was a time to criticize, there was a lot of attention to what was happening in Greece. Now that there is time to learn from that experience, there is a bit less attention for a variety of reasons. Mr. Moraes was saying in his intervention it's been a difficult journey. It has been, it still is, in many ways and in many parts of Europe. I think it's been a journey, though, where we have also to recognize some enormous success if we are capable of learning from it. Relocation has been mentioned. I want to mention it too, simply because that was the first time that Europe actually had the political courage to establish a compulsory system, although limited in time, to distribute the responsibility among member states in a compulsory manner, which in our view is the only way you can discharge responsibility. It's a little bit weird to think that responsibility can be optional. I took it whenever I want. I don't think any of us would be happy to hear their son or daughter saying, well, I take the responsibility of studying only if I want to, but if I don't want, allow me not to. That would not be an acceptable behavior, and I don't see why we should expect from government and political leader a different type of behavior. So the fact that relocation was established was, I think, an enormous success. I think the program in itself was a huge success, regardless of the number, because we all know that the problem we had in implementing the relocation and in reaching the original target number had nothing to do with the operational capacity of the partner, with the operational capacity of the Greek Asylum Service or the Greek authorities. It had only to do with the fact that a portion of the EU member states ignored that they had the legal obligation to relocate refugees from Greece and Italy. That is what has been the major obstacle in achieving the original target number. And that remains the biggest challenge, to ensure that the community of 28 still member states is serious in keeping their commitment of being member of a union that is based on certain principles and on certain values, one being sharing of responsibility and acting as a union and not as an arithmetic sum of member states. This brings me to very last comments that I want to make on the whole work that is being done or attempted to be done on the revision of the common European asylum system, including the recast of the Dublin regulation. First of all, of course, we talk about the European asylum system, and sometimes in some quarters we forget that the key word is common. And unless it's common, is not going to work to the extent that we need it to work. What the latest 3 years of increased flow to Italy and Greece, which we still continue not to define as a crisis for Europe, has taught us are basically two things. First, if we don't act with a set of common principle values and operational guidelines, we fail to respond adequately. And if we are not serious in exercising our common responsibility, we are going to fail in our response. So we hope that the proposal that has been tabled, especially by the Parliament, on the recast of Dublin and the various principles that it contains, will advance and hopefully find enough political will in the Council to be approved. There is no other way to proceed on the revision of Dublin if we don't touch on what has been proven by recent history not to work, which is the lack of a compulsory system of redistributing the charge of arrival on the frontline state. And from our side, of course, we are ready to help and support whichever way we can in advancing those discussions. Let me close by thanking Maria and her staff for the cooperation we have had on basically all aspects of the response in Greece. I think I have hardly seen such a close cooperation between IOM and governmental authority. In fact, on some part of our response, we are even located in the same office, so you can get closer than that. And I would also close in saying in all my interaction with the Greek authorities that have been under enormous pressure in terms of arrival of migrants, refugees, and also on the situation that they still have on the island and in other parts, never once I have heard any representative of the Greek authority telling us, well, we are under a lot of pressure, we are receiving a lot of people, so we have to find a way of keeping them out, of not receiving them. I cannot receive everybody, I cannot host everybody, I cannot feed everybody. Never once we heard that type of discourse. Is unfortunately not the same in many other countries, including in Europe, where the pressure of arrival is far, far less. And I think that, I hope that will be held as an example for the Europe that we are still all trying to build with a lot of difficulties, but also a lot of hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambrosi. Before I give the floor to Mr. Keledzi from the permanent representation, I would like to welcome my two friends from Turkey, Bade and Mrs. Ergeç, who is a professor of civil law in Istanbul. Me and Manos Kefalogiannis are not just members of the chairs of the Interparliamentary Committee, Joint Parliamentary Committee with Turkey. We work with Turkish people because under the headlines and the problems that exist in Turkey with the rule of law, with the problems and the freedom of the speech, there's a huge society there ready to work with us, with sharing the same values, and we have to make bridges. We are connecting with Turkey with agreement for the refugees, but this is just a step. We need bridges with the Turkish society. Turkey will not go away. So Europe must think very carefully what is going to do with the Turkish society that is exactly like us. A part of it, but a huge part. The permanent representation has a contribution.
Thank you very much. Just 2-3 words. First of all, thank you sincerely for this invitation and for organizing this event. We consider it of paramount importance. We always have been striving and working together with the European Parliament, and we are extremely happy to have all these initiatives from the European Parliament that we fully support. Allow me just to mention for the Greek Asylum Authority, because I'm part of the authority as well, representing all the information, hard work that they have been preparing and putting in action, all this extremely important work that it's not by accident we say cherchez la femme. And in this case you have more than one. Back, and because I don't want to have much of your time, I would say that indeed Greece will continue, you have mentioned many times about the issue of the Dublin regulation, will continue to reiterate and provide practical examples of how we have to reform the Dublin regulation, because we have seen it failed and we have known the practical experience and problems. Our voice of reiteration of the same issues is not because we're stubborn. We want to make it happen because it goes through our practical experience. And that's why we're mentioning that we need an automatic and obligatory solidarity mechanism. These are words that European Union and states will have to understand. And we're very grateful again, once again, that we have the support of the European Parliament on this issue. They say many times that criticism is the muse of improvement. Allow me to say that fair criticism is the muse of improvement, because the work that we have been seeing here, that the Greek Asylum Service is preparing, is putting in action in the name of European migration policy, is not something that public opinion and EU public opinion knows well about that. And it's an issue that we do need the support of the Parliament in order to see that all this work that is happening will be in the ears of the knowledge of EU public opinion. Because otherwise, if we only criticize in a negative way, it means that whatever we have been achieving collectively, it means that it does not bear any results, and criticism is going to zero, that all the efforts of all different authorities and member states are going to zero, and it's really not the case. Having thought about collectively, of course, IOM, UNHCR and the EASO, it's of paramount importance, and also the civil society, the support that they are giving to us. Finally, just to, at the end, I would like to say, how can the Parliament include and magnify what is happening of the frontline member states, in order that the information that we have at the end will indicate what it means to have solidarity, which is a legal term. Solidarity is not that we're helping someone that does not do something. We're helping the European migration system to multiply its effectiveness, to give support to people in need and protect our societies, which in Greece, as was mentioned, local societies of the islands, you cannot expect only for them to externally, continuously extend hotspots. It's not practical, and I will just put a rhetoric question. Which other member states will have their public opinion or local societies being inviting migrants or having so much number of migrants multiplying in such short term without having problems? Thank you very much once again for your time and the invitation for this excellent event.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kelegi. Because before I give the floor for a quarter of an hour to our asylum service to reply, I would like to see 3 parliamentarians which are not present today but are always supporting our efforts. Beatrice, please.
Εξαιρετική η πρωτοβουλία του συναδέλφου του Μίλτου του Κύρκου, με τον οποίο άλλωστε έχουμε μια αγαστή συνεργασία εδώ και πάρα πολύ καιρό για το θέμα που συζητούμε. Ξέρετε όλοι ότι το προσφυγικό είναι μείζον για την πατρίδα μας και ιδιαίτερα για τα νησιά του Βορείου Ανατολικού Αιγαίου που αποτελούν γεωγραφικά την πρώτη πύλη εισόδου. Έχετε κάνει σημαντική δουλειά, εξαιρετική προσπάθεια και του Δημήτρου Αβραμόπουλου, του Επιτρόπου μας. Από την άλλη πλευρά, το πρόβλημα μέχρι στιγμής δεν είναι απόλυτα διαχειρίσιμο. Γι' αυτό θέλω να σας ρωτήσω, με δεδομένη την αλλαγή του νομοθετικού πλαισίου, πρακτικά τι προβλέπετε να γίνει έτσι ώστε να επιταχυνθούν οι διαδικασίες απονομής ασύλου και να μπορέσει η χώρα μας να διαχειριστεί το πρόβλημα, αν λάβουμε υπόψη ότι οι αιτήσεις μας υπερβαίνουν, ο αριθμός των αιτήσεων υπερβαίνει τις δυνατότητές μας.
Είναι γνωστό ότι διάφορα κράτη-μέλη της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, ιδιαίτερα ανατολικά, Πολωνία, Ουγγαρία, δεν δέχονται πρόσφυγες στα εδάφη τους, δημιουργώντας έτσι πρόσθετες δυσκολίες στην εφαρμογή μιας κοινής ευρωπαϊκής πολιτικής. Η Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή καταγγέλνει τη στάση τους και καλά κάνει. Το ερώτημα όμως είναι, αυτή η καταγγελία είναι ειλικρινής ή είναι άλοθη για τις υποχρεώσεις άλλων πιο αναπτυγμένων και χώρες με πιο ανοιχτούς ορίζοντες και πιο ανοιχτά μυαλά, που και αυτές δεν εκπληρούν τις υποχρεώσεις τους ό,τι αφορά την μετεγκατάσταση προσφύγων. Άρα, αν πάνε μερικές χιλιάδες στην Πολωνία και στην Ουγγαρία, που θα καταλήξει με το επόμενο τρένο στη Γερμανία, δεν πρόκειται να λυθεί το πρόβλημα. Θα λυθεί όμως το πρόβλημα αν χώρες όπως η Γαλλία και η Γερμανία, για παράδειγμα, αναλάβουν πρόσθετες υποχρεώσεις με βάση αυτά που έχει προωθήσει η Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή και έχει ψηφίσει το Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβούλιο. Τελικά έχουμε μια καταγγελία της αντιευρωπαϊκής πορείας της Πολωνίας και της Ουγγαρίας, η οποία χρησιμοποιείται σαν άλοθη για μια αντιευρωπαϊκή πορεία του σκληρού πυρήνα της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης.
Συγχαρητήρια για την πρωτοβουλία και ευκαιρία για μία ερώτηση. Έχουν κλείσει 2 και πλέον χρόνια, 2,5 χρόνια, από τότε που έχει ληφθεί η συμφωνία για την μετεγκατάσταση των προσφύγων, που πολλοί από αυτούς είναι και εξακολουθούν να παραμένουν εγκλωβισμένοι στην Ελλάδα. Και παρότι αυτή η συμφωνία δεν εφαρμόζεται, δεν επιβάλλονται ούτε κυρώσεις, ούτε τίποτα. Στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση, αν κανείς παραβιάσει το 0,0% της δημοσιονομικής σταθερότητας του συμφώνου, δέχεται κυρώσεις, απειλές, τελεσίγραφα κτλ. Όταν πρόκειται για να παραβιάσει συμφωνίες που έχουν να κάνουν με τις θεμελιώδεις αξίες της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, δεν υπάρχει καμία τιμωρία. Πώς περιμένουμε λοιπόν οι Ευρωπαίοι πολίτες, η ερώτηση απευθύνεται σε όλους τους παρευρισκόμενους, να έχουν εμπιστοσύνη σε μια Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση η οποία δεν ενδιαφέρεται και δεν εφαρμόζει παρά αυτό το οποίο έχει να κάνει μόνο με το χρήμα και με τα συμφέροντα των τραπεζών. Ευχαριστώ.
Κυρία Σταυροπούλου, ο λόγος πια σε εσάς μέχρι το τέλος της εκδήλωσης. Έχουμε 1/4. Μην ξεχάσετε μόνο την Χριστίνα Τσέβη και το πάρα πολύ ενδιαφέρον έργο της.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Okay, I guess from the interventions there are a few things that we can discuss still, and they have the same threads, such as what can be done to improve things in Greece, so speed up the asylum procedure, have people stay less on the islands, and so on. Well, of course, the Asylum Service will continue to expand. It has to. It will continue to grow. It cannot grow 3 times every time. No agency can do that. No unit can do that. We have already grown very much in the last couple of years, but we will continue to grow. I'm sure funding will not be the problem. The problem will be having sufficient senior staff, coordinating, training, and mentoring the new hires. So there has to be a reasonable growth rate. And then the next question is, and what if the asylum applications are more? What if people in need are more? Many more. They are already more. What if the number grows still? And that's where the dead end appears very sharply. Then what? That is when we hit the wall. If we can't grow as fast as the need, then what? And that's where responsibility sharing needs to kick in. And it needs to kick in fast and effectively and in a binding manner. Now, I know Sophie mentioned a potential voluntary relocation scheme by willing member states, so to speak. Now, I can't answer that, let's say, from a political point of view, but what I can say is, and this is from our experience in Greece, that for this system to be workable also on our side and to make sense also on our side, it has to be simple, fast, and with binding rules for everybody. It can't be a pick and choose. Some member states want to have X category, families only. Another member state wants to carry out security checks. A third member state wants biometric photographs, whatever. Can't work like that. The protocol that the Commission worked out for the relocation scheme that just ended, it did precisely that. It put a frame. But this is the minimum for the program to work. Otherwise, just entering into bilateral agreements effectively is going to be so resource intensive, we might as well just do the procedure ourselves. So that's where those practical details come into play. Other than a responsibility sharing mechanism where it's not just about funding, but also about sharing the taking care of the people. There is no other way. There is no other solution. We have to be honest about that. And I will repeat what I said. Of course, it's about European values. Of course, it's about the Europe we want to have, a Europe that protects human rights, protects refugees. But I don't even go so far. It's a question of common sense. Unless we reach a common sense approach to this, the system will just go down again. Okay, I don't... Oh, and a final word about what can be done to shorten the duration of the asylum procedure, because that was mentioned once or twice. It's the same thing. If the numbers of asylum applications stay stable and we increase our staff, the duration will go down. If, on the contrary, the number of asylum applications is going up and our staff expansion can't grow equally fast, we will be creating a backlog. We are already creating a backlog. The asylum procedure is longer and longer and longer right now. It's still around 6 months, which is actually very good under the circumstances. Not many member states achieve this, 6 months, but it won't stay 6 months for much longer if things continue like they are. Final word about how we experience being on the first line. You know, when people move on to other countries, they're already in a relatively safe environment. They already have an idea about asylum procedures. They've gone through some government administrations. When they come to us, most of the times they're just out of the sea. It's a very different situation. And what our staff confront all the time is desperate people, just asking them to do more and more and more for them. We are the ones answering to the first moments of desperation. And Zoe and her colleagues, what they have to face, you know, when people would come and say, why did, I don't know, let's say a random country, Finland did not take us. It's us answering them. It's not Finland. It's us. This is very, very difficult and very painful for the colleagues who are really in the front line. Now I'll close this by saying that I've had the thankless job of talking about numbers and managing and systems and process, and that's my job, okay? So, but it's not very interesting. But I think we will now close this event, for which we are very thankful and very proud, by turning to Christina Tsevi. Christina is an illustrator, and we do have these for everyone to take. And Christina will tell us how did she do this? Which is very different from what I've been talking. I and Zoe and Isa, we've been talking about numbers. Christina will talk about something totally different. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say that it's an honor for me to be here, as I was raised in a family deeply connected to the European dream. My father, being born in the late 30s, right in the center of Athens, had experienced the strength of the notion of a united Europe amongst Athenians, and how eager people were for a new and better Europe right after World War II. As a teenager, he attended meetings with speeches, readings, and screenings, praising the European spirit. He raised my 3 siblings and me with the certainty that Europe is our greater home. And despite the difficulties, I know it always is. So, on to our book. First of all, I'd like to say that this book might be created by me. I mean, all the illustrations and the typography, but it's actually the birth child of Ms. Petraki, because this was all her idea, and I think we all owe this to her, because it wasn't an easy thing to make, and I know that she had to face many difficulties in the process, but now it's here. So just a few words about how we got here. Just a few days before Ms. Petraki contacted me for the first time, I had read an article about the messages that many refugees write inside their life jackets. If I don't make it, call this number. Mom, don't forget that I love you. It was not the first time that I found something regarding refugees startling. And like everything that affects me emotionally, I had a great desire to create something about it. Ultimately, that first message from Ms. Petraki led to the creation of this unaccompanied minors booklet that we are presenting to you today. How can one illustrate the greatest tragedy of our time? The answer is he can't, but one may describe some of its fragments. On avoidance to becoming melodramatic, I attempted to describe the adventure of innocent children condemned by circumstances to a wandering and a life without a home country, often without parents, and to a journey so hard, unthinkable to most of us, a desperate search for a better life with incredible delays and never-ending waiting, while in a constant state of danger, injustice, exploitation. I visited the asylum service area many times, followed the asylum application process, watched interviews, talked to people. I observed, I listened, I empathized. It's very difficult not to feel guilty when your eyes meet those of a refugee. Guilt about your own random and completely unjustified privilege. For a year, all of us, I believe, were constantly thinking about this book, with our main concern being how to practically help, but also how to inspire children. Respecting the experiences of each child, I sought to depict a restrained optimism. Another reality where different means unique, and consistency in your dreams, mental strength, and faith in a better tomorrow are the things you should value the most. Because in each child's disappointed gaze, I recognized hope and the belief that everything will be okay. It is our duty to support and strengthen that. The incredible strength of these children, everything they've lived and all they hope and aspire to, all of that makes them remarkable, not just different. Yes, they are foreigners. They are different. They will never be like us, and that's a good thing. Their culture, their experiences, their journey, they're all just a few of the elements that make them so unique. It is up to us to learn from them. It was a great honor to work with the Asylum Service, from Mrs. Stavropoulou, Mrs. Petraki, to the interpreters and the print company. We had a truly flawless collaboration. The truth is that I never expected to meet in a government service so many deeply thoughtful people that help anyone who needs it and are so involved at a personal cost. It was a life lesson that does not end here for any of us. And I am very happy to hear that our booklet, even before it was released, already had such a positive response from the refugees themselves, who saw some of the illustrations on the internet and got in touch with us just to let us know how moved they were by them. And I think I can surely say that for all of us, nothing is more important than that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. I am grateful to you for this amazing booklet. We will share it with our colleagues. You know, the soul of the Parliament, we are proud to say, it's not true maybe, but we are proud to say it's the LIBE committee, and we will share it with all our colleagues. But I have to say that I'm also grateful to Eleni Petraki, because she is the reason we are here today, because I met her in the Parliament and she reminded me that Maria's mandate was reaching the final stage, and we said, no way, we have to bring here in the European Parliament her staff, but also everybody that we could bring so they get a glimpse of this Parliament, and we also show what great work it is being done. So to end this event, we need a common European asylum system. It's not just 4 words, it's what we really need and what the Council has blocked up to now, based on shared solidarity. But what I want to keep in my mind, to have, besides the Ma, don't forget I love you, which Christina said, and which I would really love to say to my mother, but she's not available. The one that I want to keep is EASO and Greek asylum people working together in HEOS, creating a European approach. This is what we are working for, not common laws, but a common approach to problems, and in the years to come, this is what we will be missing if we don't build while we can. So it's not about economics only, France, Germany, whatever, is creating this common European approach that when things will go very wrong, we could overcome them. This is what we have to do. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here, and I'm sure that we will see you again. Thank you very much.